Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Into the Pit. I'm very privileged to have Miss Katrina Weidman on, and I guess y'all started a new season of Portals to Hell, huh?
Yeah, we did. It started April 9th. And what's cool about it this season is it'll air on Travel Channel, but then you can also stream it the same day on Discovery Plus. So whichever you do, it's there for you.
Yeah, it's why we have Discovery, because all the paranormal stuff and the cooking shows and all that. But as I was telling you before we got started, I mean, we hear a lot of the stories that I know y'all get asked the same questions a lot, but I like to find out more about my guests, and just tell me a little bit about yourself, like where you were born, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, I was born outside of Philadelphia. Still, in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to think where I don't know. I was a shy kid, always really shy around adults. And so much so that they put me in like special classes growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So we had moved when I was like going into first grade, we moved. So it was a new school. And I only knew two people, who was my cousin, who was my age, and she's still my best friend to this day. We met in the YMCA used to have like I think they still have it. It was like Indian Guides.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So they had one for girls and it was called Indian Princesses, which I think they've changed the name since, but I do think they still have it. Anyway, she was like my best friend from there. And we ended up being in the same school, in the same class. And but I was just really, really shy. And so because I wouldn't speak up, they put me in all these like special classes because they didn't think I guess could understand. I was just always like scared to raise my hand and stuff. And so did that for a while. Went to school. Let me see what happened after that. I don't know. I went to school I started as a psych major. And then I kind of realized I have a problem separating myself from, you take on so much, when you're talking to somebody. And I also realized I didn't want to go into like the lab side of it. So I'm like, I don't really think this is for me. Right. And I went back to my original love, what I always wanted to do, which was music and theater. So I started playing the violin at like 10, but before that, I was always like making up songs, right? So I go around the house and I make up all these songs, and people would be like, "What is that song?" And I would be like, "Oh, I made it up." And so they were like older for me songs, they were like things you would hear an adult sing, and I was just like singing them at like 7.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so I always wanted to do that. And so I ended up getting, my degrees are in, it's technically called integrative technology, which is, it's a Penn State program where you kind of make up your own major. And at the time I wanted to go to school for music production, but they didn't have that exact program put together yet. They were just starting to like kind of get that in place. So I worked with an advisor to do music production, get all the right classes in, and that stuff. And then my second major is in theater performance, and I have a minor in music technology.
Wow.
So yeah, so was completely planning to go that route. And then Paranormal State happened. And I was always into ghosts, always into everything strange, because we had experiences growing up. And then, my mom's whole side of her family had experiences. So we always heard about those stories. And I always thought it was really neat. And, so I'd always get the books about it from the library or the school book fair. And I was always that weird girl, so, and always sent home at least one girl crying from a sleepover. So it just sort of, it was like this really weird thing that happened because I wasn't even going to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
I had zero plans to go to college. And I didn't do well in school at all. So like growing up, I think it was like kind of like a marriage of being shy around adults and having it in my head that maybe I was stupid because they put me in all these, special classes. And I had a wonderful teacher who realized I didn't belong in those classes, and she worked with me one-on-one. to kind of prove to like the school board I didn't need to be in there. And so I caught up with like, the rest of my class and all that stuff. And but I still had this thing in me where I didn't understand the point of school. I think it was like part boredom, and then also part, I'm like, I always was like, what is the point of this? And like, obviously I know education is really important, but as a kid, I was like, eh. And so I barely passed high school. And so college was not in my future at all, as far as I was concerned. And I was going to go for music and performance. And my backups were makeup. I was going to be a makeup artist, or culinary arts, or, something artsy, something in the art world. And then I went to go drop off a friend at Penn State. And the minute, I will never forget this, they had a conversion van, opened up the conversion van door. The minute my feet hit the pavement at Penn State, it was this overwhelming feeling of, I have to be there.
Really?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I've only felt that one other time in my life. It was when I was 14 and I went to New York, and I just like felt like, I'm like, I need to be in Manhattan someday, but Penn State was really urgent. And it was like this whole body experience I had. And I remember I went home and I told my family, I'm going to go to college. And they're like, what? Who are you? Like, what? You went drinking one weekend at Penn State and like, now you want to be there? I'm like, no, like, I really want to go. I'm like, something is just telling me I need to go here. And I went to my community college and I'm like, I'm going to go to Penn State. And Penn State, even though it's like a state school, it's still pretty competitive. And so they're like, you don't have the grades. You never took your SATs. Like, you're not going to get in. They're like, shoot lower. And I was like, no, I really, really want to go there. So, I figured out what I needed to take at the community school to go there. And I looked into a couple other colleges, but it was always, I'm like, I got to go to Penn State, got to go. And so I went, and Paranormal State happened when I was there. And so it's just like this really weird thing that kind of happened, right place, right time. And I think I still would have been in the field had I not listened to that intuition of going there, because I was always into the supernatural. I was always doing it. It just wasn't like it wasn't a formed thing when I was growing up, so I didn't realize it was an option even to do on some level. So, so then I've pretty much been doing that ever since. What else have I been doing? But there's pretty much that takes up a lot of my time.
Well, I mean, the whole paranormal thing, you really need a love for it. And
yeah,
if you have a love for it, it shows. And I can't stand those groups that come out and they're looking for fame and that's all they want. The first team that we were with, that we ended up leaving because that's all the lady wanted, was to be on TV. She wanted so bad, she stole somebody else's story to get on. It was one of those reenactment shows.
Yeah.
And another friend of ours, the stuff happened to her, but she was acting like it happened to her. So I'm like, what the heck,
Oh yeah, I don't like that. And I know maybe it's not okay for me to say it because I am on TV, but I agree with you. You don't enter the field for that reason. I mean, there's people who do, for sure, but I think there's such a glamorized version of what it is to like work in television. And it's not, look, I'm very lucky, and I know I'm lucky to be able to do what I do and to get paid for doing what I do. And I understand that, but it's also, it's like any job. There's things you don't like about it. There's things you do like about it. There's times when it's really hard. There's times when it's great. And so I just don't think entering any job with the goal of, I just want to be famous is like,
if it happens, it happens.
Right. Yeah. Like, I just feel like it's, your passion won't come through in your work at that point. And I think that's what makes success, is if you really love doing what you do.
Yeah. We got in it to help people. So,
right. Yeah.
If we happen to get on a show or something, I'm not out there searching for it. Let's put it that way. That's not what we got into it for. And to be quite honest with you, after you've done so many, sometimes you're like, oh man, I need a break from this,
Yep.
because it can take a toll on you. That's for sure.
It 100% does. And I kind of joke about it, but there's been many times I've tried to step back from the field because of how much of a toll it's taken on me. But it always like pulls me back in.
They keep pulling me back in.
Yeah. It's like there's that one case where somebody's like, hey, do you mind talking to this person? And it's like, no, I'll talk to them. And then it flips you and you're like, okay, I'm back in. But I was just saying, it's like the emotional toll from if you work with clients is really, really heavy. I go back to that thing of why I didn't go into psych, and I volunteered. I became a volunteer crisis counselor for 10 years, partly because of realizing how much of a toll the paranormal was taking on me, and that I didn't know as like a college kid how to handle somebody saying, hey, I am having anxiety because of the stuff going on in my house, or hey, I'm suicidal at this point because of everything we're experiencing. And we were lucky where we had, advisors we worked with, and we had psychologists and psychiatrists we could call on hand if stuff like that happened. But since I was the case manager for PRS, a lot of that stuff would come to me first. And I would be like, I have no idea what to say in this moment before I hand you off to like the person who, like, that's their expertise. I have no idea what to say to you. And it was becoming too much for me emotionally, like, you know what I mean? Just having to, you hear all of that, and it's very, very heavy. And so I was lucky where we were still operating out of State College at that point, and they had a wonderful community center up there where when they started, it was a bunch of grad psych people that like put together this program to help the community. So it was like over, I think altogether with all the places I've trained at, I want to say like 400 to 500 hours of training.
Oh, wow.
In it. Yeah. And it helped me immensely because it taught me how to create that boundary of like being able to take on or hear someone else's emotional pain, but be able to protect yourself. And I'm not the best at it. I have a really good friend who's the therapist, and she's like amazing at her job, and she can just like put up those blocks that she needs to protect herself. I'm not great at it, but I'm much better at it than I was before I took the counseling classes. But
are you an empath?
yeah, I would call myself that. I don't like advertise it though, because I think it gets misconstrued sometimes, but yeah, I would say I'm sensitive. I've had like the dreams that come true. I've had the gut feelings about people, like knowing things about them that I shouldn't know. Or, when it comes to the work, walking into a location and being like, oh, that person has seen this happen right over there, and this is what it looks like. And it's not something I was previously told about. Yeah. Or like, there was just recently somebody that we had worked with, and I could like feel her pain from her life, if that makes sense. Like I knew what she went through, and I had kind of said it to her off the cuff. I'm like, hey, I just want to make sure like this is what I'm getting from you. And like, do you have like the right people to talk to if you need help? And like that kind of stuff. So that stuff will happen to me a lot.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people have the abilities, but they don't practice it on a regular basis. And let's see, my wife, Michelle's an empath, and she's so powerful that there was times when I was working, I'd just be out in the field and something happened, just makes me miserable. And my phone would ring immediately. She's like, what's wrong? Yeah. What do you mean? She goes, I know something's up. Tell me what's up.
Yeah.
That freaks me out.
Yeah.
Get out of my head.
No, but it's great. I actually have my husband scared straight now because it's happened so many times where I've picked up on things that I shouldn't know about. And I'll be like, is this going on? And he'll be like, oh my God, yes. Okay. So like, he knows he can never get away with like anything with me. So
it's funny. You know who Sarah Lemos is, right?
Yeah. I love Sarah.
Well, I had her on the show and I asked her, because she was still dating at the time. I think she just got married.
Did she get married finally? Oh, good.
I think so.
Last time I saw her.
But I said, does it make it difficult when you're with someone and you have your abilities and they know they can't lie to you or get away with anything? It does make it a little difficult.
Yeah. For them. It's great.
Great for you. No.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So, what I mean, I know you're into music. Is there anything else that you do to like kind of get you away from the paranormal for a while, or?
Yeah. So definitely getting back into my music. I was in a band for a long time, and we broke up at the end of like 2018, we broke up. And I've always written and all that stuff. And I was trying to write, but I had like all these mental blocks when I was trying to write anything. And like, I didn't like it, or it wasn't coming out the way I wanted, blah, blah, blah. And I signed up for this mentorship program with a producer. And I don't know what it was. It was like 2 years of just blockage, I guess. And when I started working with them, it was like, bleh, like all these songs just started like pouring out of me. And so now we're working together. I have my first single like ready to go. I'm just waiting.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of shy about my art, you know what I mean? So like I'm holding it, but I have to get the final okay to send it out to final mix and mastering.
You're
but we're like there.
perfectionist.
Yeah, very much. It's detrimental most times. But so music, and then I do still keep up with my theater training.
Okay.
So before the pandemic, I studied at Royal Academy.
Oh wow.
In one of their programs. Yeah. So that's always great. And just, I mean, work-wise, I put myself into a lot of different aspects, like producing and everything and writing. But as far as like for fun stuff, what do I do for fun? I like my dog a lot. I hang out with my dog a lot. I love him. He's the best. His name is Batman, and he's like the sweet.
You got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
My daughter named her dog Bruce because of Batman.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. Ours was so serendipitous. It was weird. We went to we wanted a dog, right? Mm-hmm. And we were moving at the time, and I wanted to check out different adoption agencies. And so, they all have their meet and greets that you can go and just kind of see what's going on. And so I told my husband, I'm like, we're just going, we're not going to pick up a dog. I'm like, I just want to see what the agency is about. Right. And he's like, we're getting a dog. I'm like, no. We're just going to look. And so they had a bunch of dogs there. We met them. We really liked one, but I still kind of felt like maybe she was like too wild for us, And then the very last dog was who we ended up adopting, Batman. And he was so sweet, and he comes prancing around. And I was like, hi, what's your name? And I bend down on the floor, and he stands up on his hind legs and gives me a hug, like a literal hug with both his like paws on me. And then I sit on the floor with the Fosters, and Batman curls up in my lap and falls asleep. And I just like look at my husband. I'm like, he's like, yeah, we're getting a dog. I'm like, yeah. So we adopted him. And we were like, maybe we should change his name because that's kind of awkward to call, but we both really loved Batman. So we were like, what about Bruce? Or what about, what if we called him Albert or something like that, Cobblepot? And so we were trying all these different names out. And so my husband was taking him for a walk. And this guy was like, oh, can I pet your dog? And he's like, yeah, sure. And my husband was like, what's your name? And he's like, oh, I'm Bruce and everything. And he's like, what's your dog's name? And my husband was like, it's Batman. And the guy was like, my middle name's Wayne. So
what a small world.
Right? Yeah. And then it was like, was it that day, or it was like the next day? It was something like that. His dad and stepmom, they were like, oh, congratulations on moving. Here's a present we picked up for you. And it was like a set of pots and pans, but the brand name was Gotham.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, they had bought it for us before we got the dog. So we were like, this is clearly a sign that the universe wants us to have a dog named Batman. So we kept the name.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
See, I'm like the biggest Batman fanatic. He's my number one superhero.
Me too. He's the best.
You see my tattoo?
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Well, anyway, my daughter, she got her dog. It's Batman, but they call him Bruce. Mm-hmm. I was like, that's weird that happened. But I'm real quick. I'm gonna tell you my pet story. I have a cat.
Okay.
All right. See, I had this black cat for 10 years, and he ended up getting a liver disease, and we had to put him to sleep. And it broke my heart. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like losing a child. I literally
Yes.
broke down, and I didn't really want to have anything to do with another cat because I was so distraught. But they opened a shelter here close to us, and so my wife says, "Hey, let's go check the place out." So I'm looking around, and like you said, they have that room where you can go in and do the meet and greet.
Yeah.
First cat that I saw was she's a tortie.
Mm.
And so we brought her in, and immediately when they brought her in, she jumped up on my lap and was doing all this all over my face and all that stuff.
Got you.
I was like, yeah, I don't need to look at it anymore. Damn you, woman. You knew I was going to want another cat. So
It is. It's so hard though when you lose them. My first cat I had as an adult, I got him in college. His name was Toby. And he was this really beautiful blue gray tabby.
mm-hmm.
And he tapped out at like 23 pounds.
Oh, wow.
He was huge.
And
it wasn't just that he was like overweight or anything. Like he was just a monstrous cat. And my roommate in college brought him home because her friend in one of her classes got him. And then like their landlord found out. And she's like, I can't have him. I need somebody to take him. So my roommate volunteered to take him. And so it was like 4 of us girls who had him. And we were like sharing him. And when it came time for all of us to move, I was like, I really want to keep him. Like, can I please have him? And they were like, yeah. So I ended up with him. And he lived with my parents as I was like finishing out school. And but he died. It's the saddest, most pathetic story. Because he died on Christmas, which is terrible. Like me and my husband were out, and we were going to my mom's. He was with my mom because we lived with my mom for a little bit. And we came home and he had like just passed. So we had just missed him. And I was like, I mean, right. It's like you said, it's like you're like a baby to you. Like, and I'm like, I raised him from the time he was a little kitten, and like now he's gone, and I just missed him. I didn't even get to say goodbye. So I was sobbing on the floor on Christmas, just sobbing. And I don't know, like sometimes your brain does weird things when you go through grief and loss. And so I'm like, maybe if I breathe into him, he'll come back to life. Right? So he's very clearly passed over. Like he's not there anymore. And when anybody would leave the room, I'd be like, come on. And so I'd try to breathe into his nose, right? Just to give him life. But his little tongue was like out like that. And so whenever I would breathe, it would just go.
Oh, no.
That's what I mean. It's like the most pathetic story. I'm like sitting there Christmas morning and like sobbing, trying to bring my dead cat back to life. And like, it's just like it's clearly not working. So my husband, bless him, I was like, I really need something. Can we just like ink his paws and put it, and then maybe we can frame his paw, like, because I know he died younger than, he died at 10, and I didn't. You just kind of think you'll have a cat longer than that. So I never got his impressions of his paws then. And it's winter. So we had a porch at the time that was like an enclosed porch. So we had kept him out there until we could bury him a couple days later.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked my husband, I'm like, can you please just like do the ink paws and everything. And he's just like, I'm like so upset. And so he's like, okay. So he's like, trying to maneuver this very stiff, cold, dead cat, like with ink, and like trying to do his little paws on a piece of paper. And so it was just, yeah, it was a lot of grief for me. But I always say, get yourself a man who
you know he loves you.
Yeah. And get you ink paws of your dead cat. That's a keeper. So that's my story of my Toby.
Man, poor kitty cat. I have a soft spot for cats. I don't know what it is. I like big dogs. I don't like little dogs.
Yeah.
Because my daughter had one of them with Chihuahua things or whatever, and I said, why would you want to buy a rat? She's not a rat. It's a dog. I said, no, it's a rat. Well, anyway, so whenever my wife and I do our investigations, and it's been a long night, wound up, it takes forever for me to calm down and go back to sleep. But do you have like a ritual or something that you do to kind of come down?
It's hard. Like on lockdown, it was really hard because obviously we're sleeping in like we would pick like, where's the scariest place we could possibly sleep in this building? And then you try to get to sleep and it's just not comfortable, So on lockdown, I would look at pictures of my cat, my dog, just like anything that would bring me comfort. You look up all those happy stories, or I try to, if we had internet connection, I try to watch like a Conan O'Brien video, something just to make me laugh. If I'm like going home or back to the hotel, if we're not sleeping over, it's normally just actually what they have a lot when you travel. It's on like every hotel channel list ever, because not every hotel has all the channels, and some of them don't have streaming yet, and so, but True TV is on like every hotel television list ever, and Impractical Jokers is always doing a marathon. It is always a marathon of Impractical Jokers. So like, especially if we're coming from a place with a lot of heavy history, I would just be like, please, dear Lord, let there be like something funny on TV. And it would always be Impractical Jokers. So I would normally just fall asleep to that.
Well, that's funny, because that's when we're at a hotel, that's what I end up watching too.
Yeah, it's on like every hotel ever.
Do you have any other hobbies?
Yeah, I like to dance. I like to, definitely hang out with my friends, and I like to do like mixed media.
Oh, okay.
A lot. And I love baking. Love baking.
That's me.
Yeah. Do you black out when you do it? I feel like I completely go somewhere else.
I am in a different world when I bake. It's like everything else is, I can shut off the noise and everything else.
Yeah.
And you know what got me started in baking?
Mm-mm.
Have you seen that show Nailed It?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm like, I decorate like that. So, but I want to see if I can cook. So
yeah,
my wife found one of those KitchenAids, like $100.
Nice.
And this person had it and never even used it. It was practically still in the box.
Wow, good find.
And then all of a sudden I had cake pans and cupcake pans and then making cookies all the time. That's what we did for Christmas. I baked a bunch of cookies and all that other stuff, and I said, that's what you're getting this year. No gift. You're just getting cookies.
Yeah, I like giving out shortbread.
Ooh, shortbread.
Yeah, for Christmas. I use my my grandfather immigrated from Scotland. So
cool.
He would, so what's kind of cool, since he wasn't that far removed from us, right? My mom's first generation on that side. A lot of their traditions still got passed down. So we have, it's like my great grandmother's shortbread recipe from Scotland. So I like making it for people and give that out. But yeah, I like baking. I like antiquing is big for me.
That's my wife.
Yeah, obsessed. So I like to go to a lot of auctions.
Oh,
yeah.
Flea markets.
I like getting deals. Yes. And I've realized I've become that weird old lady who, like, if you come over to your house, she'll tell you the price of everything. I'm like, that desk, I got it for $5. They're like, oh, that's my old lady voice, by the way. I had an aunt who would talk like that. So I think it just like ingrained in my head, the little scratchy voice.
Well, that's weird, because that's Michelle's favorite thing is the antiques, and she likes to refurbish stuff.
Yeah.
And, have you been to Waco?
No, never.
Oh, you need to go, because the Chip and Joanna Gaines, their silos are there.
Yeah.
Incredible place. The stuff's a little overpriced for me, but it's really cool. And that's what she does all day, is watch all that,
Oh, like the HGTV stuff?
Yes.
On Discovery Plus.
On Discovery Plus, yes.
Just put it in a plug, huh?
So, besides the Portals of Hell, do you have any other projects going on?
Yeah, so I'm very happy to announce next week is the first installment of Travel the Dead, so Travel the Dead we're releasing that on YouTube. And it's every location that we did is in multiple parts. So it's like one part per week. But it really started as, it was kind of a couple things. We get asked all the time to do private locations. And just because of filming schedules, I can't always do them. And I've been wanting to get back to that for a while. So when the pandemic hit, it was like, I can just go do that. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go do some private locations. And then I called up Heather, and it was Heather Taddy, who was on Paranormal State with me, and she's done Alien Highway. And she also jumped onto a couple episodes of Portals. I was like, do you want to go and do this? Because everything's shut down. Nobody's in these locations. I'm still getting requests. And so the first one we did, I didn't tell her where we were going. She's like, oh, well, where do you want to go? And I'm like, I'm not going to tell you, actually. I'm like, just come meet me on my side of the state, because she's in Pittsburgh. And I'm like, we'll just go. And I kind of want to see what you experience. And because we always talk about that in the field. I'm sure you guys talk about it too. Like how much, if you go in knowing anything, are you really objective?
Yeah, that's the thing. Sometimes I'm like, don't tell me anything. I just want to find out for myself.
Yeah.
There are some things you want to know about, like this is where everything's happening at, but
yeah,
other than that,
do you have a bathroom? I want to know that. But so we just started getting back to basics, I guess, kind of, and just doing these private locations. And it also became a thing of, I guess for me, just wanting to go back kind of to the rawness of an investigation.
Yeah.
It's me, Heather, and one other person. And just seeing what happens. And we switch up our tactics each time. And so that starts April 27th on YouTube.
Okay.
And that's just a fun thing for us to kind of get back to our roots a little bit.
Yeah.
That's how we started. And music though, sorry, I think that was my phone, but music is, yeah, that was me. I have it on vibrate. But music, like I said, my single, I just have to give the okay to send it out to mastering and mixing, and but wrote a ton of songs. So I'm working with a producer named Barb Morrison.
Okay.
And they've worked with Debbie Harry, and so I'm in really, really great hands with them. And it's and then our engineer is Jeremy Kinney, who he's amazing. And just when I tell them, I'm like, this is the idea I have, they're just like, doop, 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 and they get it all out. So working on that, and a couple podcasts. And then excuse me, a project I'm really excited about, because it's my first foray into it, but a comic book.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that. So I partnered with a colleague of mine, she's become a friend of mine, Tina Sissa Ward. And so I'll have news on that soon.
Oh, cool. What kind of comic book is it? It's a superhero or?
No, paranormal.
Paranormal. Wow.
Yeah, I'm very, very excited. I had the concept in my head. It popped into my head over a year ago, out of nowhere. And I was just I think that would make a really cool comic. That would be something I would want to read. Mm-hmm. So when I started talking to Tina about it, she loved it too. And we're like, let's do this. So
wow.
Yeah, we'll have some information soon. We're going to do a Kickstarter for that.
Oh yeah, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
Now, what kind of music did you say it was?
So the single is cinematic dark pop. But I feel I kind of, and the second song that's just about finished. It's in the same vein. But I also think the music I write it flows depending on what I'm doing. So before this, I was it was alternative rock is what I was writing, but then I also come from how I was trained as, choir, choral music, and classical and musical theater, since I was a theater major. So, and I think my parents were very much into what we would call oldies. growing up. So and then like I'm a kid of the 90s, so I got, a whole bunch of different influences.
I'm a kid of the
So,
70s.
who's your favorite band?
Ooh, that's really hard because I'm in different moods. Like
Yeah.
Beatles are always going to be kind of on top, but I'm
Okay.
more of a Rolling Stones type of a person. Uh,
Mm,
and then the Who. I mean,
yeah.
that's the band. I mean, I think that's the greatest collection of musicians that could ever be is the Who, and then of course you got Led Zeppelin and all these others. And man, to say who's my favorite, I mean, my favorite band as far as that I like to show off is Kiss.
Yeah.
But I'm a big Zappa fan. If you can't
Yeah, yeah, there you go.
tell.
Yeah, have you ever seen Boston?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, so I went to a Joan Jett concert, and Boston was headlining with them.
Hmm.
And I'd never seen Boston live. I never really like went down the rabbit hole of Boston's music. They were incredible,
Hmm.
like insane, incredible. Like I became such a fan from that show.
Yeah, Tom Scholes is like he is so picky about his music, and you can tell when you listen to it that there's perfection in what he does for
Yeah.
sure. You know, I don't know. There's just so many good ones out there. It's hard to say which one would be my favorite.
Yeah.
I'm also,
Yeah.
if you said country music, I'd probably say Buck Owens. Or you know, it depends on the genre and what my feelings are.
Yeah. I know. I feel you. I don't know if it's always hard to answer that question because it's the same way for me. Like it's like, well, it depends really who's the artist and what genre are you talking about? You know?
I love taking music and changing the lyrics.
Oh, cool. What do you have like a favorite?
Let's see, Hold Me Closer, Tony Danza.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We've been listening to a lot of Elton John lately. It's funny.
There's one, it's very distasteful. I couldn't say it on air, so
Oh man.
but I almost got my wife in trouble because she hears me sing it, and she did it in the store, and some people almost heard what she said. But
Oh man. Yeah.
I mean, if there's some kind of lyric, I like to change it around.
Yeah.
My grandpa used to do stuff like that too. I don't know. I guess maybe that's where I got it from.
Yeah, yeah. Right.
So, are we gonna have another season of Portals to Hell, or
I
what's the
don't know. I
deal?
think it's too soon to tell because it just started premiering on April 9th.
Hmm.
So, normally how that works, they like to see how it does. And
Yeah.
then if they like how it does, then they order more. And if they don't, then we then we don't. But
So, what about that transition from working with Nick Groff to Jack Osbourne?
yeah. I mean, I think anytime you work with someone, it's just different. It's like, being in a relationship. No two people are exactly the same. And I had to go through that too with Paranormal State
Mm.
when Paranormal State got canceled and when we stopped working together as an organization. And I started working with Nick, full time. That was a transition. But I think one of the benefits of getting a chance to work with different investigators like that is that I've been able to take away things from each one of them. Like I've learned something from everybody I've worked with, you
Yeah.
know. And I think that's been a real benefit for me as an investigator because I think it's just made me a better investigator,
Yeah.
you know.
I like to take a little bit from everybody that I meet on the show. I do a positivity show as well,
Hmm.
and I have a lot of life coaches and authors, and everybody has just something about them that you can gravitate to and take from
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
So, I couldn't say, oh, I love investigating with this person the most, because sometimes I will work with this person. Sometimes I like working with this person.
Yeah.
Everybody's got different ways of doing things.
Yeah.
Uh, just the same as, I mean, I've had actors on here, I've had musicians on here. I couldn't tell you who'd be my favorite, because
Right.
everybody's got something else, that something different they contribute.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's how I feel about it. But I mean, everyone's different. Like that Nick and Jack are completely different investigators.
Mhm.
Jack and Heather are completely different investigators. So yeah, it's just different. I don't know how else to explain it.
Well, we spent our honeymoon at the Ohio State Reformatory.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
Nice.
but we investigated with Samantha Hawes and Dave and Tango, or excuse me, Steve and Tango. Let's see who. Oh, Dustin Party was there.
Oh, I
Amy
love
Allen
Dustin.
was there.
Yeah.
Um, let's see, Chip was there, the
Oh,
psychic guy.
yep.
But
Uncle
anyway,
Chip, how I call him.
I always thought, man, Dustin's such a goober. I don't know, something about him. And then I met him
Uh-huh.
and got to know him. And I'm like, wow, this guy's pretty freaking cool. And
Dustin is like the sweetest, kindest soul.
yeah, I learn a lot about these guys behind the scenes. I can't tell,
Yeah.
but have you ever run across somebody like I don't know about this person, and you like, oh wow, getting to know them, they're pretty cool.
Yeah, I feel like that's life, right? Like I even feel like that's shit happened in high school of like, I don't like that person. And then it's like you have a minute to actually sit down and get to know them. You're like, all right, maybe I like you. Um Begrudgingly, I like you, but I like you. Yeah, I think that's happened. But I think the older I get, it's more of like a protective thing for me
Mhm.
because, and I think especially just, I don't know if entertainment has it more just because it attracts uh, the negative people it attracts are can be very, very negative in my opinion. But I'm sure it happens in every industry, you know. But I think I saw like very early on working that not everybody is who they appear to be, you know, so
Mhm.
I kind of keep my distance just in general, just because I don't want to get hurt. I don't want to like, you know what I mean? I need to protect myself. But when I meet people and we have a real connection, like I'll stay friends with them. You know what I mean? So I don't know that it's a thing of like I think any like, oh, I don't like them. I think it's just more a thing of I'm like, you know what? I just need to stay focused on what I'm doing and not so much pay attention because I've been hurt before doing that. Um, so yeah, just try to create a safe little bubble for myself.
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking about how a lot of the people that I used to hang out with when I was younger, they still want to party. I mean, we're in our 50s. We don't
Yeah,
need to be out, drinking and doing drugs and all that stuff.
right.
Grandpa, I need to be a better example. And that my circle's gotten a lot smaller over the years.
Yeah.
I try to stick around the people that are a lot more positive and that have
Yes.
some kind of goals in mind. I mean, is that what you do?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because again, it was like that thing of I think the first time I really encountered somebody with um a really destructive personality, meaning not destructive against themselves, but like purposely, consciously wanted to destroy people around them because it made them feel better. It was, or like it was some sort of game. I met a few people like where it seemed like it was a game, like they liked being the puppet master.
Mhm.
The first time I really encountered that in somebody, I didn't know what to do because I had never seen that before, or at least I wasn't aware, or I wasn't close enough to someone to realize that's how they were. And that was a big life lesson. So learning about that type of personality exists in the world.
Mhm.
And that relationship still very much affects me to this day. I still have trouble. I guess you try to make sense of it, and like you can't really. There's like no sense in it, so and then I encountered more people like that and more people like that. And I was just like, you know what? I don't have time for this. Like I really don't. Like our lives are so short if we're lucky, you know? And it's just, and I mean that meaning I think 100 years, 90 years, 80 years is short to me. But I just, yeah, I just sort of hit this point where I just don't have time, and I don't have patience for it. And I just, I want to have a good life, and I want to be happy. And I don't know that you can have that with that type of person around, you
What
know?
what is it about the paranormal that it seems to attract a lot of I don't know, drama, that unneeded drama. This is supposed to
Yeah.
be something where we're a family, we help each other out. I don't know
Yeah.
if people get jealous because somebody else has better footage or something than them, or what's the deal? Why is there so much drama?
I I don't know, because for as much drama there is, there's also like a lot of positivity.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I've met amazing people who do this. I've met I mean, I've made lifelong friendships from doing this, But I do agree with you. There does seem to be a good amount of jealousy or drama, and I think, my opinion, I think it comes from, it's such a niche field,
Mhm.
and there's very few seats at the table as far as how you can make money at it, you know so I mean, there are certain universities that have departments that kind of delve into, like University of Virginia. They have a department that looks into past lives from children, and they have like over 2,500 cases.
Oh
you
wow.
know and of course, like in the UK, they have universities where you can get a degree in parapsychology. But outside of academics or writing books, it's, which isn't always lucrative, as like any writer will tell you, especially in like today's world. But aside from that, it's really just like media, television, if you want to make a living doing this. And I think there's so few opportunities that it kind of gets a green-eyed monster going.
It's,
That's my opinion. That's kind of what I've seen. And I think that's kind of where a lot of it comes from.
we never got into this to make money. We got into this to, number one, to try to get evidence and prove that there's life after death,
Right. Yeah.
and to help people, you
Right.
know.
Yep. Yep.
So I don't know, to me, if you know how to do something and you share it with somebody else, they might know some kind of trick of the trade that they could share with you, and it just makes us all
Right.
better.
Right. Yeah. I think that it exists in a lot of places, though. I'm sure it's not just the paranormal, but maybe it seems bigger or more, what's the word I'm looking for? More significant in our field, because it's such a small field.
Mhm.
Because I remember there was, right, I think I told you I was one of the, I'm trained in it. I trained to be a makeup artist.
Right.
And when I was interested in it and I didn't have training yet, there was a woman I met who was like, she was making her own soaps or something. And I thought it was really neat. And I just asked her out of curiosity. I'm like, oh, how do you do that? I wasn't trying to make soaps. You know what I mean? I just was curious. And she said to me, she's like, well, I'm not going to tell you, because then you might steal my idea. And like, I get it, but I was like, oh shit, girl, I'm not trying to like, this isn't like some like secret operative I have, like where I'm trying to steal your recipes. Like, I was just interested. Um, but I kind of feel like that probably exists in a lot of industries.
I mean, it does. It's just for some reason the paranormal, which I thought was, a big family. It's
Yeah.
not. I mean, you do. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of people out there that they love to share and be a part
Yeah.
of the family, and I think that's the way we should be. Um,
Yeah.
uh,
Well, yeah, because I always look at it too as a thing of, we've kind of hit a point where I kind of feel we're a little stagnant as far as being able to scientifically prove things, right? Because we still don't know the qualities that make up these experiences. And until we have that information, we're not going to be able to have equipment that scientifically tests for things, right? And so I always think about that kid who's like 5 now, who's really like into like ghost shows or Ghostbusters or whatever. Maybe that kid grows up to solve the equation, or so I just kind of think, kind of what you're saying, being open about it and sharing the information that we all have, because again, none of us are going to, well, maybe that will change in a couple of years, but none of us right now are going to live to 200. And you know it's just that information is going to die with us. So we have to be able to pass it on and share it.
So all the filming and stuff that you've done, what is probably the craziest thing that's happened off scene?
Off camera. Supernaturally speaking, or like
It could be supernatural, or it could just be y'all being goofy.
Oh, there's lots of goofy moments, especially from my days on Paranormal State, because we were all college kids. So I don't think we realized the gravity of, like, I don't think we understood we were on a national show. Like, you know what I mean? Because we were just like 20 and we're like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, didn't like hit us. So we had a lot of goofy moments. One in particular that I think about, there was one time where Heather and I, we like made up the story at the hotel we were staying in. And we were like, oh, we got locked out of our room. We need a room key. And they didn't question us at all. They were like, okay. And they gave us a room key to, at that time, we all had a bunk together. So it was like all the guys in one room and all the girls in one room.
Mm-hmm.
And so we broke into the guys' room, and we just like, this is like dumb prank stuff, but we like rearranged all their furniture to make it look like a ghost had been there, you know? And there was this one time at an event, this was really funny. The guy, he wasn't, I think he was maybe on 1 or 2 episodes. He was one of our junior investigators. And we had done an event for the public, you know, where they come out and ghost hunt with us and everything. And at night he was sleeping, and he went to bed early, and we had all stayed up really late. And his bunkmate, we got him in on the prank. And so we snuck into this guy's room, and I laid down next to him in bed just to make it feel like maybe there was a ghost, because he was kind of freaked out.
Mm-hmm.
And he woke up like night terror, screaming, grabbed my arm, looked right in my face, and was like, like freaking out. And what we didn't know is that he is like completely blind without any glasses.
Oh no.
So he felt somebody curl up next to him, and he thought he was alone. And then he like opened his eyes. He couldn't tell that it was me. He just saw like this form. And like, so he just like completely lost it. So we did a lot of, like, we were big into pranking.
Oh.
Off camera. Big into pranking. And there was this one time we were down in Texas, and they have, I don't know what they're called, like the long things that cowboys put in their mouth in those old movies.
Oh, you're talking about like straw?
Yeah, and they have like the little fuzzy thing on the end.
Mm-hmm.
I had picked one of those up, and I was in the back seat. I think Sergi was driving, Ryan was in the passenger seat, and then like the rest of us were in the back. And it's really late or early morning, so it's super dark. And I started from behind tickling Ryan's ear with the little fuzzy thing. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh my God, there's a bug in here. There's something in here. And then we would be like, Ryan, we don't see anything. What are you talking about? And then I would do it again. And he'd like freak out, start screaming. And he'd be like, you guys don't see this? What is it? Is it a bug? We're like, we have no idea. Dude, we don't see anything. There's nothing. Like, are you okay? Like, you know? And that went on for a while. So yeah, we would just do like dumb pranks like that on each other.
Yeah, we didn't get that far into it, but I got to be a part of a pilot for a show where we were building bars.
Oh, cool.
And I did learn a valuable lesson. Turn off your microphone before you go to the bathroom.
Oh yeah. Early lesson there. Yep.
But we had 3 days to film as much as we could so they could do this pilot, and A&E just rejected it. And that was a little disheartening because we waited almost 2 years for all this.
Yeah.
You're like on hold going, oh, come on. I would love to be on TV. I don't have to do paranormal stuff. It'd be anything.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. No big deal. Yeah. The experience was great though.
Oh yeah. Well, that's good. Sometimes people don't have good experiences with that stuff. So that's good that yours was good.
But they let you be you when you're on screen, right?
Yeah. That's something I'm very grateful for this, because when we started Paranormal State, it was very much a thing of, it was already a group, you know, so it wasn't like we were put together for the television show. It was already there. And in the pilot, you'll see a bunch of other people. It was, what was the pilot's name? I can't remember the pilot's name, but it was about a little boy who saw ghosts. And I wasn't part of the pilot, but you'll see, I think it was like 10 investigators, and that was like part of the normal organization that was at school. So by the time the television show came around, it was already this like cohesive group. They already had a way of working. They already had a way of doing things. And we all, I mean, there were multiple times where we threatened to quit because we felt like there was meddling happening, you know? And so I think learning that from a very young age of entering like the entertainment world, of like, you can stand up for yourself and you can say no, and you can like walk away, which isn't always the easiest thing to do, you know? But I think that instilled in me like a very strong foundation of, you know, don't compromise. I mean, it's important to compromise, right, in any business, but don't compromise away your integrity.
Exactly. Well,
You know?
when we were filming, they wanted us to be serious the whole time. And that's just not us. I mean, you get us, the guys that we had together, one of them was one of my best friends, and we were just goofy. Yeah, always saying something stupid, you know, and I thought that would have been great, but it was the guy that directed the Move That Bus or whatever. I can't remember what that show was called. But
Extreme Home Makeover.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And he wanted us to be just totally straight the whole time. Like, I told my buddy, I said, man, this is not going to work. They got to let us be us.
Yeah, it's important. We actually struggled with that a lot on Paranormal State because, again, we were college kids and we were friends, you know, so it wasn't like we were just colleagues, we were actual friends. And so we would joke around a lot. And, you know, most producers were pretty cool with it. They knew that the footage would never be used, but they're like, whatever, just be you. We don't care. But there were some producers who were like, no, serious all the time. And there's one episode where we did a hair salon, and we thought it would be funny if at the very end, all the guys are getting their hair done, right? So it was like Josh had like a roller because he had long hair. And we had to fight for that because they didn't want us to do it. They're like, this is a serious show. And we're like, yeah, but we also like joke, you know, and that's part of how we investigate, is we do have lighthearted moments. And there was, but I'll tell you, there was one, and you know this as an investigator, like sometimes things get so heavy that you laugh at really inappropriate things because it's just like, you just have to laugh at something. And sometimes you laugh at like the absurdity of like the situation you're in. And there was one where there was a family who thought they were being haunted by an evil spirit, right? And everything we found didn't suggest that, you know, and it seemed like they were, the more we dug into this family, it seemed like they had a really dark past with messing with negative side of the occult.
Yeah.
And so as we started to do more research, I found out that the guy had actually killed someone in his past. Yeah. And, you know, from all the articles, it seemed like, I guess there was some kind of a question if it was murder or self-defense, and they finally ruled it self-defense from what I remember. But I remember because we were just like, we had been joking the whole time that we were there, because we kept finding out these things like, oh yeah, and then they used to devil worship, and then, oh yeah, they did that, oh yeah, and then they did that. And it was like all things that they had like kind of left out. And so, or like had only told us like very little smidgens of things, you know? So when I found out this information and I went to the group, I remember it was like this really serious circle up that we had. And they were like, Katrina, what did you find at the library? And I was like, well, like he actually like killed someone. And we all just like burst out laughing because it was so absurd. And like, we're like, what life are we living? Like, this is so weird. And I remember our production team was like, you guys are like horrible people. They're like, this is something to laugh at. We're like, no, we're not laughing that somebody died. Like, we're laughing because we think our lives are so messed up. Like, what are we doing? Like, this is reality right now. And we were laughing because it was like literally like every hour we would find out something new that like wasn't brought to our attention. And we're like, how much information can we still get that we didn't know about? but yeah, so that was always a fight for us to kind of have the lightheartedness of ourselves come through.
Did you ever get really pissed off because somebody either didn't tell you the whole details or lied to you about it?
Really pissed off. I've been
It's
annoyed.
happened to me once.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. What did you confront them?
Actually, I let somebody else do it, but they swore up and down that they didn't mess with Ouija boards and they didn't do any kind of, witchcraft or anything. And then we go upstairs and we find a whole box that had like, I think they had 3 or 4 different Ouija boards up there and all these pentagrams and spell books and all the different herbs and oils and stuff.
Mhm.
I'm like, you just outright lied to us.
Yeah.
That's a bunch of bull crap. And who knows what you have attracted to your house because you've done all this stuff.
Yeah. I don't know that I've had a moment of like where I've gotten really mad at like a client or a witness doing that to us. But I will say I only know of one where it seemed like there was some forgery going on as far as that. And we knew it going in because we were like, something's amiss here. We didn't know, but it was the thing of where she had a couple of roommates and we didn't know where the lies were coming from. We knew somebody was messing with us, but we didn't know who. And so our thing was, let's do the case because we know maybe there is something going on and that somebody was like, let me make sure that things are going on. So maybe some things were true and other things weren't, kind of thing. But we also thought if they're not all lying, then whoever isn't lying needs to know. So we're like, let's do the case. So we ended up doing the case and we can never find out. They had a series of photos and somebody staged the photos. And we found out because we were able to, we had some sort of like detective who helped us or like photo detective who was able to get all the information. Now this is like 15, 16 years ago. So you couldn't always get the information right away from a photos, but we were able to pull the information and we were able to tell that there was like significant time lapses between each photo, even though they were telling us, no, these were all taken like within a few seconds of each other. It's not what happened. So we did confront them about it, but the main person was like, I don't know what you're talking about. That like, they didn't even take them. If I'm remembering correctly, it was somebody else who took the photos. So it was, I think in that instance, it was a thing of like, we knew someone was lying, but we didn't know who. We didn't know who was the victim, who was the perpetrator. Like, so it was a thing of like, well, here's the information we found, do with it what you want. But I think it would be a thing for me if I found out later, like if I found out like, hey, that witness you interviewed totally lied to your face. I would be mad because like you're wasting our time. You're also putting out information that's not true. And I don't appreciate that. And you're making us look like idiots, So I would be mad about something like that for sure.
Well, unfortunately, that's the world we live in. You get people that just want to be on TV or something and they'll make up whatever. I've actually had people get mad because we weren't filming for a TV show to investigate their house. I'm like, whoever said we were on television to start with?
Oh, they were mad that it wasn't a TV show. Wow, that's new.
Hey, I'm just investigate. I give you whatever evidence that I have, but
yeah, huh?
But unfortunately, we have run out of time. This just flown by.
Yeah, well, it's great chatting with you. I enjoyed it.
I really appreciate you coming on and taking time out of your day. And if you ever have anything you want to help or you need us to help you promote, send it our direction.
Okay.
Let me know.
All right, cool. All right, I'll do that. Thank you so much.
And anyway, if you're out there and you're new to the channel, thank you for stopping by. Please subscribe. If you're a regular, thank you for your support. It's because of you we do what we do. So until the next one, everyone, please take care. Be kind to one another. God bless and peace.
Po boy.